many times that I miss you. I know how to call when I want to. Now you got way bigger issues.
For us to make this, we'll be needing some fabrics to make this. The kind of fabrics that you can use are silk fabric, duchess, crepe fabric, satin, chiffon, thick chiffon. If you can also use light chiffon, but make sure the light chiffon you're using is not see-through. But what I have here is satin, as you can see. Next is how I got the amount of fabric I used. So let's assume this is the center front. The next thing you will get from here to here is the length of shoulder from center back like this, from here to here. Whatever your shoulder is, that is where this place will stop. Then the next thing is from that shoulder to the length of the sleeve, wherever you want it to stop. But I will want my own to stop at the elbow. So usually what I take for this place is 13 inches. And for my shoulder length is 8 inches. Then next thing you're going to be adding is sewing allowance to that. So you can add 1 inch sewing allowance to that. All in all, you will have 13 plus 8 is 21 plus 1 inch is 22 inches. So remember, this is on fold and you're going to times that by 2. 22 inches times by 2 will give you 44. That is for the front. So for you to get the front and the back, you're going to times this by 2, which is 88 inches. And you're going to be adding zipper allowance for this. So it will now, let me say 2 inches for the zipper allowance, which will make the total to be 90 inches. So the total fabric you're going to be using is 90 inches. That's the total fabric you're using. Remember, the length of fabrics always comes by 60 or 62 inches. It depends on the length of your client. If your client is taller than 60 inches, then you can measure it the other way around. This is how you would determine how much fabric you need. So here I have my fabric folded in 4, as you can see, and I have left this extra allowance for my zipper allowance. Now we're going to be starting. Now guys, I'm using a half scale to do this so that you'll be able to see everything I'm doing properly. So what that means is that I'm going to be using half scale measurements on the fabric, but I'm going to be calling the actual measurements for the client. So what I have done here is to mark this line, and that is the line I'm going to be starting from. That is because I want to have allowance for me to join the shoulder when I'm about to join it. I hope you guys can see this here is the center front and this is the back. The back, I have added some allowance for the zipper. So I hope you guys can see this. This is on fold and that's for my center front. Now from the center front, I'm going to be coming in the neck width that I'm using. I'm using 2.5 inches. I will come in here 2.5 inches for the neck depth, and then the shoulder length. The shoulder length I'm using is 16 inches divided by 2, which will give me 8 inches. I will mark it here. Now the neck depth that I'm using for the back is 1 inch. So I'm going to mark that here and take it all the way out like that. So I'm just going to connect it like this. Next, I'm going to drop the shoulder sloping from this line. I'm going to be dropping 1 inch here. And I'm going to connect this line like to this. So you go ahead and go down with the same line. Can you see? Yes. So now the next thing we are going to do is to come to the sleeve. Then you're going to measure round your elbow and you're going to be adding easing allowance to that. I usually make my own 16 inches. That is because I want it to be a one size fits all. So that 16 inches divided by 2 will give me 8 inches. And I'm going to add 1 inch sewing allowance to that, which will give me 9 inches. So from here to here, I'm going to be marking 9 inches. So now from here coming inside, I'm going to mark 1 inch. And I'm going to connect this line to this line. This is exactly the same way that I made the last bubu that I have made. If you have not watched that video, go ahead and watch it. You will love that tutorial. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to come to the hemline like I always do, which is standard for me because I like this to be a one size fits all. I will come from the center front. I will come in 14 inches. That 14 inches, I've added sewing allowance to that. So I'll come in 14 inches. The same thing I do for my cow bubu, the same thing I'm going to do. So I'll connect this line to this line. Yeah, so I will bring in this notch so that I know where my sleeve would end. So this is basically it. I'm going to cut these things out, but before I cut this out, I'll just cut this one first. I will notch this place where the sleeve will start, would end. Before I continue cutting, I want this to have a belt hole, so I just add the belt hole first, mark where I'm going to add the belt hole first before I continue with the rest of the cutting. So from this place, I'm going to come down 15.5 inches. This is standard for me, so I'll come down 15.5 inches here, and I will come in here 6 inches, or you can make it 6.5. You come in 6 inches, so I'm going to mark here. This is where I'm going to add the belt. So I'm going to turn this over like this and do the same thing on the other side of the fabric. So now I know where I'm going to be inserting my belt. So now I'll go ahead and cut out this. Oh, I've made a mistake. I didn't add my sewing allowance. Okay, that's part of the mistakes. Okay, don't make this mistake that I've made. I've cut out this thing. Don't make the same mistake I made. So the next thing I'm going to do now, you're going to pay attention. For the front, I will come down from this shoulder line. I'm going to come down 42 inches, and I'll mark it here, 42 inches. Can you see, guys? And then I am going to come in here 0.75. So I'll mark it here. And on the hemline, I'm going to be coming in 2.5 inches, and I'll mark it here. Now I'm going to make a curve here like this. So just use your free hand and connect this way. Can you see what I just did? Yeah, that is it like that. So I'm going to cut this off, and that is just for the front. Can you guys see? I hope you can see this. I hope you can see it. Okay, let me just turn this way. Let me turn it this way. Can you see the difference between this and that? I have cut only the front. Now on the back side, I will come down by 45 inches. So I'll mark it here. The same thing I did to that side, I will come in 1 inch, come here 2.5 inches, and connect this like this. Can you guys see what I did? Yeah, by the time you're joining it, this would come this way. Can you guys see? Yeah. So next, I'm going to separate these things and work on them separately. For the back, you're going to be adding zipper to this. Make sure the zipper you're adding to this is the very long one, so that it will be able, because this is high already, make sure you use those ones that are 24 inches, so that your zip will come down to somewhere here. If not, it will be hard for the client to wear it. So the next thing you will do is go to your machine and join this. From this place, you join it all the way to here. So let me go and do that and come back to you. Now you can see the back is coming to life. Guys, can you see? Yeah, the back is coming to life. So you will go ahead and add a zipper to this place. I'll go ahead and set this aside, and we go to the front. Now for the front, if you want, you can add this belt. If you don't want, you can leave that. The neckline on the front, which is the scrub neckline, actually, because this is half scale, it's not going to be the same measurement I'm using for my client, but I have a very small video on my shorts how I made this scrub neckline. I'll be dropping that for you guys to see, but I'll just go ahead and just, you know, give you an idea how I made it. So in here, I'm going to be coming in, if it's my actual measurement, I'm going to be coming in here 1 inch. But for this, I'll just do 0.75. I'll come in here 0.75. That is the width of what I want my placket to be. And then I'm going to drop down. You know, we have come down here by 1.5 inches. I'm going to continue from there and come in 9 inches. So which is here, 9 inches. Then I'm going to come inside by 1/2 inch. So I'll come in here like this, and I'll connect these two lines. It's going to make a V neckline, but this is not actually a V neckline, it's a scrub neckline. So I will have it like this. So I'm going to cut this like this. Can you guys see how this is? So I'll go ahead and add an interface in here, but it will help this to balance properly. So next I will go to my machine and add this to this place. You can either sew it from the front or you can sew it from the back. That way, if you're sewing it from the back, it will be easy for you to know where you're going to stop. Or you can place it this way, whichever way that you want. I'll go to my machine, place this like this, and sew out 1/2 inch sewing allowance. But for this half scale, I'm going to be sewing out 0.25. So I'll go ahead and sew it out. When I get to this place, I will come down 1/2 inch here and stop. So I will do it on both sides. So this is it after I was done. I hope you can see where I stopped. So I'm going to turn it this way. That way it will be easier for me to see where I have sewn. So I will make a notch here coming in towards where I have sewn. So I will cut it here like this and do the same thing on the other side. Can you see? Then it would give in for the thing to relax very well. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it in like that. And turn this other way. So you're just going to turn it in like this. This is how it's going to look. Can you guys see? So this is how it's going to look. The next thing you will do is to flip it this way and bring in this thing. Look at this. Bring it in. Make sure it's seated properly like that. You make sure it is properly the way you want it to be. Let it sit the way you want it to be. No dimple, no nothing. Just like that. You're going to go ahead and flip it over like this. And then you sew it here. So I'll go to my machine now and sew it from here to here. Now this is how it's going to look. So I'll go ahead and just snip off this. So make sure you overlock it. You go ahead and overlock all around. Can you see how neat this is? So you go ahead and sew it at the tip, just at the edge like this. You sew it at the edge all the way like that. Can you guys see how this is looking? Very, very neat. The next thing I did, I've already made this dashiki design. I'm sorry I made it off camera, but it's just to make the design and fold in all the sewing allowance and, you know, use your hemming gum to hem it in. So the next thing I would do is just to go and place this the way I want it to be. If you want it this way or you want it that way, whichever way you want to place it, you can go ahead and place it, pin it in place and sew it. This really looks very big for my half scale. I hope, okay, let me just place this way so that, yeah, I think it looks better now. So I'll pin this and go join it on my machine. There is no mercy for money. So I'll go to the machine and just run this way. So this is it after I was done. Next, you go ahead and add the rope for this, but because this is a half scale, I'm not going to go all that route. So the next thing you would do is to go to your machine. Remember, you must have added your zipper allowance and you must have hemmed the back. So the next thing you go and do is to join the shoulder. You join the shoulder that way. So let me just go and join the shoulder and come back to you for the next thing. So from here, this is basically the same way I made the Bubu jumpsuit. I'm going to drop that in the description section so that you know how to complete this. Actually, just go to your machine, join the shoulder. After joining the shoulder, you will go ahead and close the armhole. You're going to close this before you now go ahead and join it straight. So now next thing you do is to go ahead and close the crotch area. Can you guys see? You go ahead and close this crotch area. So with this, we have come to the end of today's video. Do give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already, and I will see you on my next video. Bye bye.